We're reaching that time of year again. We're heading into autumn, temperatures are dropping, the water temperature's coming right down, which means the predators are going to go on the feed, trying to pack weight on for the winter months, for the deep winter months, and then spawning after that. It also means that certain lures will come into play, and we've got one that is absolutely perfect for this time of year and going into winter. You might remember a while back we launched our floating creature bait range. What these are is exactly what I've just said. They're floating creature baits. So these are made from buoyant plastic, and when they're in the water they will float. So if you've got that on a jig head or a chub head or even on a Texas rig with a bullet weight, that will float up in the water. They're available in 4 different shapes, all creatures. So you've got worm shapes, you've got like a shovel shad with a big fan tail on there, you've got the old favourite of the crayfish shape, and then a swing ball, which is like a spiky shad, one of our spiky shads, but with a big ball on the end which swings around, giving it its name. So why do these work so well at this time of year? The reason is, at this time of year you'd want to slow your retrieves down, so you want a more considered retrieve, but you still want a visible lure. So if you're fishing just a standard lure and you let that drop to the bottom, you've got to jig that up for it to be seen by a predator, and that means pulling it back to you. With a floating creature bait, no matter how you rig it, you cast that out into an area where you think there's perch feeding, and that'll sit up on the bottom and be visible because it's not lying flat, it's going to pop up because of the buoyancy, which makes it perfect for the perch to see. You jig that back a little bit, or even like on a river or where there's a little bit of undertow in a still water like we've got behind us. This will move around slightly, you know, waft around, look tempting, as opposed to normal lure, which would just sit on the bottom until you give it some action. When it's sitting on the bottom, it's not visible, it's not doing anything, it's not active. This is active all of the time, even when you're not working it. Like I say, you can still work it back, give it that action if you want, jig it up and down, but all of these lures work in that way. So for this time of year, they're absolutely spot on for a presentation that's going to give you maximum chance of being spotted by a perch or a pike or a zander, and get that fish to bite and get that fish on the bank. Possibly my favourite shape, and one I've caught plenty of fish on, is the crayfish shape. And the reason being for that, when a crayfish is in the water and it's on the defensive because there's a predator around, they will sit up and show their claws like that in the water, and that's exactly what this does. If you've got your weight behind there, this thing sits up and these claws waft around and look exactly like one of the signal crayfish that we've got in the UK, on the defensive. And the perch love crayfish. They're full of protein and they just love to crunch through them. Anywhere with crayfish in, you're going to have big perch, and they love to feed on them. So for that reason, I love this crayfish pattern, and it works perfectly. For something a little bit different, you've got the shovel shad, which has got this big fan tail. So like I was saying, if you're on a river or on somewhere with a little bit of undertow, if that's sitting up, that wafts around lots, especially on the drop as well. So if you're casting out and this drops down and then just stays up as it's floating on the bottom, that's really visible as it comes down, and it wafts around a lot, and then it will sit there. So if a perch is seeing that come down, it might lose another lure as it kind of buries itself on the bottom, but this is going to pop up and the perch is going to see it, come in and grab it. You've got the swing ball, like the spiky shad we do, lots of little hairy nodules on the side. They create loads of vibration in the water, and that swing tail moves around. That catches a lot of perch, that lure. And then the funky worm, it's got all these tendrils at the end, and they waft around, and it looks like an earthworm, you know, or some kind of massive bloodworm, but it definitely gets the fish's attention. So you might have noticed when I've been using these, I've been stretching them out a bit as I've been showing them to you. That's because they're made from this super durable material, and it's all part of what makes them float. So if you watch this, that stretches. You do that with a normal lure, that's going to break, but that is super durable, which means you're going to get lots and lots of bites, lots of life out of these lures. So they're great value for money in that respect. They don't get chewed up by the fish. I mean, if you get a pike hit them, they're going to get sliced up, but they'll still be usable because they're so, I mean, look at that's the thin bit on the claws, and that's perfect. You know, that does not break. So really highly durable. They're all available in 2 sizes, 7 and 9 centimeters. One of the things you've got to be aware of these is because of the material they're made of, you put them with a normal lure, and they're this type of lure that will chemically react with the other lure type and it'll eat them. You'll just end up with a big ball of snotty horribleness in your lure box. So keep them separate. To help you with this, they come in resealable packets. So they'll come in packets like this, and they have a seal at the bottom, which you store them in, and then they seal together. So you can keep everything separate. You can even keep these guys separate from each other. You don't need to, but it's a great filing system. And further to that, we also have this wonderful soft bait binder that we've just launched, and you can keep them all together. It doesn't have to be these, you can put other lures in there as well, but that's the perfect storage solution for these guys. Now, when it comes to rigging, they can be rigged like a normal lure in many, many different ways. I find it best to fish them on a chub head, because what you've got with the chub head is that articulation. So you've got the weight at the bottom and the lure can move around. So that allows the lure maximum flotation. You'll have an offset hook through there with the rig, but you haven't got the weight acting on it too much. Apart from holding it on the bottom, it's not keeping it in one position down, which gives it that maximum movement and allows it to float around as it should do. Same with the Texas rig. So if you've got a bullet weight and that's moving up and down the line, you can almost fish it almost like a little lure zig. You can let out a bit of line, it'll come up and down, but mainly it will just allow it to waft around because that bullet's not pulling it down as such. You can also fish these on a jig head. Now that is where it's a little bit different. The great thing about a jig head compared to a Texas rig is the hookup rate on a jig head with an exposed hook. But it takes a little bit more of that flotation to lift the jig head up because of that weight and the angle. On smaller weights, there's no worries at all, it'll sit up perfectly vertically. On heavier weights, you might need the bigger lure to make it cock up, but it will still work. So there's lots and lots of different options to fish these, which makes them very versatile. Loads of different colours, like I say, 2 sizes in each one, and lots of options just in the shapes as well. They're perfect for this time of year, through autumn, the back end of winter, all the way into spring. The fish are going to munch down really hard on these. If you fish them right and get it in front of the fish, I guarantee that they're going to smash these up. So check them out in your tackle shop. Try one or try all of the different shapes, but you're going to be impressed by them. They work really, really well. Just don't put them with your other lures, like I say, but give them a go and you will not be disappointed.